I'm going to go against everything I know as a pastor. I'm breaking up conversations at tables. Every luncheon, I love luncheons for this reason, that people get to sit across the table from people that they might not normally ever sit across the table from. And that's where this is church then. You know, we meet as a church, but church happens when you get to meet a person's heart. And that can sometimes happen. Great things happen at tables. So I want to, before I forget, I want to say thanks to Connie and her team, and I want help from that. As a guy, I need to make sure that we say nice things to those that prepare food for us. So that's where I go. I want to also say thanks to you who are here that said, I'm invested here at Celebration. So if you look around the room, these are people that say, I'm interested in what happened at the assessment, and I'm invested here. So these are people that you look to as fellow teammates. So I'll just let that sink in just a quick second there. I have three quick ideas that I'm going to go through the assessment. Dan Wierenga is going to come here at about 12:15 or so to lead us through the rest of the morning, but he is preaching at Ferrisburg and could not get here in time for the first part, so I get to do the first part. And then I say, Dan, would you do the rest? But my first part is I want you to think of three things as I go through the assessment. And these are the three things. Does it reflect reality at Celebration? So here, I didn't go there. There's a screen up there, so if you're on this side of the table, you can just look at the screen. Yeah, isn't that fun? You're going, oh, my neck was really feeling it already. Or you can look at the big screen. So there you go. Does this reflect reality at Celebration? Because we're going to go through some things and say, all right, maybe this isn't how I understand it. Does it reflect reality? Are there some overarching themes that say, oh, yes, that hits it right there. It's an overarching theme that we need to grab a hold of. And then the last one is, does it help us discern a path forward? Because all of today is, I don't anticipate that we're going to have some master plan at the end of today. I don't anticipate that, but I think there ought to be a couple seeds that are a part of it, like, oh, hey, we should drill a little bit here because there's some good stuff there. That'll help us going forward. Some of the today is important because the council's been thinking through a lot of this stuff for the last 6 months or better part of a year, and maybe not everybody else has thought this way. So we want to lead forward on a path going forward. So that's one of the things I wanted you to think about. So we're going to talk about some of the summary scores. And remember, with all assessments, now someone with a psych background, every psych test gives you a picture of reality at the moment. It doesn't give you a big picture about all times and every place, but it's a little snapshot, and it should give you a little bit of picture on going forward. I believe that God is not done with Celebration, as all of you hopefully do as well. And there'll be some adjustments that need to be made, and this assessment hopefully gets us there. So here's some of the summary scores. When we look at this, there was the leadership. They grade this on a scale from 0 to 100 and something, or 105. No, it's not 0. I think just answering a question can get you up to 35. So either way, but that's the scale. And if you're on between up to 53, then you start thinking maybe we need to close things up. And that's a reality for some churches. And then if you're above 88, you're saying, awesome. Maybe you made little changes, but you're in a sweet spot. And for us, it was in the middle. And that should be good news in some ways. Let me tell you, the good news part is there is some good hope here. That it's not like, oh, it's going to be impossible to make some changes. It's not in the lower part, it's not in the higher part, but there's some changes and some adjustments that'll have to be made going forward. And that's just reality. So let me give you, there's low scores, high scores, concerning scores, something that I want to bring up. Here's some of the lower scores. I guess that they bring them out this way because they want you to hear the bad news first, I guess. Some of the things that came out in the assessment is the church has decreased over the last 10 years or so. And that's reality. If you've not been here 10 years, you're going, I don't know that one. But it has. That's one of the lower scores. Ministry, it sometimes feels that most of the ministries are done by a minority of people, a smaller amount of people. That should be something that's problems. Worship attendance is less than 60 people. That shows a lower score. Less than 10% of our people are under 18. That's a low score. That's a concerning thing. But we don't stay just there. There's some high points that we need to grab a hold of, and there's several high scores. One is we've got a great facility. Now we talk about Jesus here unashamedly. We talk about Jesus. That's important. That doesn't go away. The age of our church is less than 25 years old, which means that there's less sacred cows than some other churches. You know, some churches, you've been there for so long and no, we can never do this because we've never done it before, or we've always done it this way for 40, 50, 90 years. We can't do these changes. Our church is not to that point, and that's a good thing. It's a completion conversations. That's a nice way of saying we've talked about the need for change here. I know in the council room, I know in several conversations, we've talked about, hey, we need to do things differently. We need to adjust certain things. And that's a good thing. We need to have those conversations. And then the vision-driven, our vision statement drives what we do, the knowing and growing and serving and sharing. Those are things that was developed way before I got here, and it's still relevant, and it's still important. And what we do here, it fits into those four. It's a great thing. And you guys hopefully saw this during the morning. This is still relevant today as it was 20 years ago when it was developed. This is celebration. So those are the high scores. These are great things. And if you hear nothing else this morning, those are things that the assessment said, great job. You're nailing it. There's some parts that we should be concerned about, though. There's some concerning scores. One is in the last 10 years, there's not a great amount of people that have come in through evangelism. That should concern us. You know, you want people to grab a hold of Jesus here, and that's a core part of someone's life was changed, and they became part of celebration because Jesus changed them here, and they came to know Jesus. That's something that's a concern. The program orientation. You know, our programs are hospitable. But it's not always people from our community that come to them. You know, we have the carnival, we have the trunk or treat. Those are ones that people say, whoa, I'm coming to that one. But some of the other programs, you wouldn't say it's geared for drawing people to them that are not a part of celebration already. So those are things we have to be concerned about. Another one of the concerning scores was the gift utilization. It said few or some people are serving in their passion or giftedness. And I didn't know if that was accurate. when we have our discussions, you guys can talk about that. But that was one of concern. We want people to be serving in an area they're passionate about, that fits with their gifts and who they are. Another one was participation. Most of the programs have the same or fewer participants as they had 10 years ago. And that's a concerning score. So those are things that we'll need some discussion on those. I want to pay more attention on these. There's reasons to celebrate. All of this was compiled by the Church Renewal, Vibrant Church Ministries or whatever that is. And they gave us this free assessment. I love them for it. Had conversations with them, and they said, awesome, use it. Be a part of it. And they came up with this. These are reasons to celebrate. People here at Celebration believe that the best is yet to come. That was shown out by the assessment. I didn't just write that one down at the top just to say, hey, I want to say this. You guys said this. The best is yet to come. The assimilation part. Our church welcomes people from other denominations. You have to, this is our narrow road here. If you don't believe every part of this, you can't be a part. We welcome, this is the church of misfit toys. And everybody's broken here. Come and worship here. Find Jesus here. The length of membership. Our church has a good mix of people who have been here a short time as well as those that have been here seemingly forever. That's a good thing. That's something to celebrate, the length of membership here. And there's healthy relationships. Of all things that I as a pastor look for, is this a healthy church? Not that is it growing and it's like most people here and still be dysfunctional. I'd rather have a healthy church, people saying, I'm living for Jesus, inside and out, and I'm living it with other people. And I'm not dysfunctional here with people. I have healthy relationships here. I want the best for them. That is something to celebrate. If I don't know if I can put too much of an emphasis on that. A church that is huge yet dysfunctional will eventually just implode. That's not what we want. We want God to be in us as well as amongst us and doing great things here. We need healthy relationships and to take care of conflict when it comes in healthy ways. That is a wonderful thing. Let me go one thing. The last area of scores were called divergent scores. Ones that you go, I'm not sure what you want to do with this. There's some ideas here, but we're not sure how you're going to make these come together. And one was the relationships with unbelievers. Only some people stated that they had intentional relationships with unbelievers. And it was stated that way, intentional relationships, as opposed to, just relationships. Because if you work in the workplace, not everybody knows Jesus at your workplace. Or this was intentional. I want this person to know Jesus. That's one that you go, what are you going to do about that? The capacity to change. Our church is cautious with change. At least this is what the assessment said. They're cautious with it. There needs to be a good reason for it. So we have to struggle with that and wrestle with it. Is this a good reason to make some adjustments, to make some changes? There was one about finances. It said our present offerings meet or are close to meeting our present needs. Are we going to be able to direct things to meet some of our new priorities, to adjust things? Those are things that they say, well, what are you going to do about that? One last one was functional structures. It was unsure whether our present structure fosters fresh thinking for the future. Is it a given that, hey, I've got a great idea. Let's see if we can make this happen. And the assessment didn't really figure that out specifically. Is that going to be our future going forward? Hey, I've got a great idea. What if we did this? What if? How are you guys going to work that through? So that was the last grouping of scores. And let me just read the assessment as they wrote it up, because they ended with 3 small paragraphs. Let me read those to you. And I'm not putting those. I just put the start of the paragraph up there. Let me read what they had. They said, despite the challenges of decline in recent years, we are a church focused on the future God has for us. We work hard to maintain a nice, welcoming facility. The gospel is the centerpiece of our teaching ministry. When new people come to our church, we do a good job of incorporating them into our church family. I said, well, that's pretty accurate. I believe it's up to us to whether this is their picture of celebration. A decision must be made to either become more intentional in leading of a mission-focused ministry, or alternatively, complete and launch a new gospel-focused disciple-making ministry in the Muskegon area from the ministry seed of Celebration Community Church. Long paragraph to say, we either need to refocus, make some adjustments, or close their assessment of us. Another thing for a conversation. The last paragraph was our challenge. Celebration's challenge is that we have lost some of the energy and passion for ministry. We do not see a healthy level of investment by all people. We need to renew our efforts to reach the unchurched people of our community, and we need to find ways to connect with young families and orient our ministries for people who may not be familiar with our church. I thought that the last paragraph had a lot to it. And I can print these out and let you read them. Depending on what kind of learner you are, maybe you're like, missed most of that. But our challenge is that we have lost some of the energy and passion for ministries. That was a great sentence there. And we need to find ways to connect with young families and orient our ministries for people who might not be familiar with our church. That's where we come in now. So most people have eaten, got a full belly, but this is the time that you get to do some work now. Food regenerates you, so now you use that energy. This is what we're going to do. Every table has pens and paper and Post-it notes. This is what we're going to do. Each table is going to do what's called a SWOT analysis. And if you've ever been through something like that, it involves saying, all right, what are our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats here at Celebration. And we're going to make sure that there's leaders at each table. And their job is just to say, all right, what are our strengths here? And not just to list them, but to have people talk about them from the standpoint of, this is how I've experienced this. You might say, hey, this is one of our strengths is a welcoming church. How have you experienced this as a welcoming church? Because that's where we understand it. Otherwise, we just make a list of things. And we want people to hear your story. How have you experienced it? How have you personally been affected by certain things? How have you been affected by some of the opportunities or the weaknesses? Maybe some of the threats. You say, I know this to be a threat because this. So this is where our conversations, everybody's at a table. My hope is that you're not too far away from each other so that you can't hear, because it'll get noisy in here. There's a lot of voices going on. So make sure that you're close enough you can hear everybody at your table. But this is your time. Split your paper. You got a paper here. Split it in 4. have SWOT on it. So start talking about that. The person with the most legible handwriting, you can raise your hand now. You're going to do this. So you're going to write it down. And if you need to drop your stuff, the trash in the bins, take that and then come on back and start this up.